Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Randall from the Kings of Commentary podcast, and today I'm just doing this podcast by myself. Brandon, I think he just came back from Europe, so we're letting him rest. He got to rest from that jet lag and from all that vacationing. Can't wait to hear more stories about Europe, Brandon. I'm really happy for you. And Will is attending to personal family matters at the moment, and my prayers are with him. So I'm gonna do a solo episode today, but it's gonna be a little bit different from what I normally do with the guys. So usually in the beginning we talk about like trailers, or in the last one we did with Spider-Man Far From Home, Brandon and I kind of dived into like a little personal information from like Shakespeare, favorites to my religious beliefs, etc., etc. So that was kind of different, and it was kind of new. Well, obviously it was different and new, but it was also refreshing, and I kind of enjoyed what Brandon was asking and what he answered with. So that was cool. So I think we're gonna try to do some things different. But for me, I'm gonna do this new segment where I engage in a conversation with someone who disagrees with me wholeheartedly. This is completely respectful. I respect this guy's opinions, I respect his reasons, and there is no negativity here between my disagreements with Mr. Haiku Reviews. So this is going to be very civil. He texted me a lot of his points on why he disagrees with me on certain films, and I will respectfully respond and give my retort. But anyway, without any further ado, what we're going to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, is Aladdin 2019. Oh my God. And we're going to be talking about, what is the movie? Oh, Lion King 2019. So for everyone who knows me, I absolutely despised Aladdin 2019. I think it's one of the worst films I've seen this entire year. However, Mr. Haiku Reviews, he disagrees with me, respectfully. And I'm going to read out why he is defending Aladdin 2019, to which I will also respond to. But anyway, here we go. So this is Mr. Haiku Reviews. He says, in defense of Aladdin 2019, I know what you're thinking. Disney, the monolithic cultural monopoly, needs another shill to support their countless soulless money-grabbing remake ventures. Okay, look, I understand the whole shill insults thing. Look, I'm not one of those guys, okay? I am not going to insult someone for having a certain belief or a certain stance. Whatever you believe or whatever you firmly stand your ground on is entirely up to you. It's all personal choice, personal opinions. As long as we don't attack each other for having different opinions than other people, we should be fine. Once again, disagreement is 110% healthy. I cannot stress this enough because we're going to do some disagreeing here. But anyway, another shill to support. I don't think you're a shill, man. I think you have a strong opinion, and I'm more than happy to share my comebacks, if you will, but in a respectful manner. Anyway, let's continue on. Disney, who swallows universes whole only to shut them out again and sold for twice the price. Disney, whose mascot not only has bastardized the public domain process, but also derives itself from blackface troops of minstrel shows. But I love Aladdin 2019, and you can too. Well, I will read why you love Aladdin 2019. I don't think I will too, but I'm more than excited to read what your thoughts are. Anyway, let's continue. 3 parts. Number 1, Disney's So White. Number 2, Robin Williams. Number 3, Expanding Jasmine. All right, so I'm excited. We have some titles here to separate the segments of his thoughts. So it looks like I'll be able to respond to this pretty easily. All right, let's do this. Disney's So White. The original voice cast of Aladdin 1992 is blindingly white. The only exception is iconic Filipino Lea Salonga, who plays Jasmine's voice. I love how he types, it's awesome. She's wonderful and somehow the only person of color in this entire production. Okay, I think I know where this is going, and I have very strong thoughts about this particular topic. But I'm going to keep reading, and then I think I'll find another spot where I can insert my actual thoughts. But let's keep reading just so that I don't get the wrong impression. But here we go. The 2019 casting fixes this in spades. The only 2 white actors play the comic reliefs. Norwegian icon Billy Magnussen had me in stitches in his Paris-esque role. Paris-esque role, who's that? Oh, that guy. Okay, all right. And Disney went with go-to animal human Foley artist Alan Tudyk for Iago. Alan Tudyk's a really good actor, actually. Like, he is super underrated. I think people need to give him more credit because he's really good. But I'm going to talk about these two actors really fast, especially in the roles in Aladdin 2019. For Billy Magnussen, he is part of the reason why I think Aladdin was bad. And it's because of the material that Billy had to deal with. His material was nothing but forced, obviously improvised comedy. And that dragged the movie down for me. The jokes went on for like 5 minutes with no point, with no progression to the story. And he didn't know when to shut up. It's like the director just said, hey, make up anything. And then we'll leave it in because I think it's so hilarious. And people love this kind of modern humor. No, what all that the humor did in the movie was made the movie longer. It just added jokes that were unnecessary, and they tried way too damn hard to get the audience to laugh. But that wasn't happening because these jokes are so forced and they don't progress the story in any way, and they don't reveal anything about the characters. So, sorry, for Billy Magnussen, I felt like he was bad because of the material he had was awful. Because all he served was as a guy who had nothing but forced comedy to deliver. And you can argue that he was like, representing how these bachelors look like to Jasmine or whatever. But still, the intention to me, it looked like he played it out for a joke. And the joke was never, ever landing. It was just like up in the air floating. And it did nothing funny for me. As for Alan Tudyk, I'm butchering his last name, but I think the guy is a very underrated actor. He's a great actor. But even for him as Iago, it's kind of like, what did he do? Iago didn't have any character. He was just a regular parrot. So unless the argument here is that, the two white guys in the film were like nothing more than useless, then yeah, we completely agree. I mean, if we agree, then that's great. I mean, that's amazing. Because if that's the point trying to be made here, then I completely agree with that. The two white guys were absolutely useless characters, and the actors themselves didn't do anything to make these characters special in any way. So if that's the case, then we agree. For the only major film that takes place anywhere near the Middle East, this was perhaps the single most necessary remake given its precious shortcomings and diversity. Okay, so this is something I wanted to mention earlier. From what I'm reading here, the Disney So White category, I feel like Haiku Reviews' defense case for this is that it had representation down to a T. If that's the case, this is my thoughts on it. Representation never, ever, ever, ever will make a movie great. I think representation is important as hell. I think it is important, and I think it is a necessity. However, when people think that representation should overcome storytelling, that's when it becomes an issue. Storytelling should be the number one thing that people always look at. Because what is filmmaking really other than visual storytelling? That's what it is. That was the one of the sole purposes of filmmaking, is to tell a story through visuals, right? When people put their political beliefs in front of the art of storytelling, that's when movies start to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And I feel like that's where we're headed to now. I firmly believe that representation and storytelling can coincide. I mean, like, it's been done before. You look at films like Call Me By Your Name. You look at films like Moonlight. You look at films like Weekend, Look at films like Aliens, Terminator 2, Silence of the Lambs. All these films that I stated have women in the lead, strong female characters that are well-written and well-rounded. And some of these films touch upon, like LGBT topics, And then Moonlight, one of my favorite films, it touches upon a gay man who's also black. One of the great films of 2016, I think. It was fantastic. So I do think that representation and storytelling can coincide, but we need the talent to actually bring about this perfect blend of representation and storytelling. We can't just have any random dude go like, oh, here, I have a script and it's complete crap and doesn't know how to balance the storytelling and representation aspects of the story. Then why are we putting this on the screen? We need more films like what I just stated before, like Moonlight, that are actually thought out well and well written. So once again, I do think representation is important, but I firmly believe that storytelling should be number one in a film. That should be the number one thing that people look at. And I feel like Aladdin 2019 had a great story. It did. You look at the cartoon, you look at the original book, it had a great story. The thing about Aladdin 2019 is it was rushed and it turned these characters, most of these characters, into assholes, really. And then for Jasmine, who's like, I guess the strong one in the film, even she had wasted opportunity, wasted potential. Other than a few quips and like one song, Speechless, that's not enough for me to care about this character. Because honestly, she was like, the way she was written was like a block of wood. And if you don't have strong material to work with, then unfortunately the acting is only going to be as good as the writing will allow. I think I'm done talking about that. I think I'm done talking about it. Okay, Robin Williams. I'm actually excited to read this one because I think Dan and Haiku Reviews and I might disagree a lot, but I think I really want to know what he says. I love Robin Williams. His manic energy is palpable and unparalleled. There is no replacing Robin. There is, however, replacing his genie. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm excited to hear this because I find it very admirable when people speak out against the general opinion. And I am one of those people of the general opinion that think that Robin Williams was pitch perfect as a genie. So to read someone's writing to say why they disagree with the general opinion is very exciting to me, and I'm very interested to see what he writes out. Let's continue. Williams's genie is fun, but suffers from impersonating early to mid 20th century American pop culture references ad nauseum. It works for communicating the timeless deity magic, but doesn't connect with children removed from past generations. It also betrays the setting and its past. There's a way to charm and dazzle without wild impressions. Okay, very interesting point. And I have to say that I completely understand where you're coming from. I personally love that Robin Williams did the impersonations. I thought they were funny. I thought they were effortless, really. And, Robin Williams wasn't trying so hard to make people laugh. He just made people laugh. He made people smile. And I think that's a testament in his voice acting for the genie. I think it's one of his most effortlessly funny roles. And, Robin Williams, he's known for being effortlessly funny. But I think the genie is just a very powerful testament to his effortlessness. But anyway, I'm excited to see why he thinks Will Smith was good. Let's continue on. I think Will Smith nails the genie. Okay, let's see what he says. He makes it his own as Williams did. True, he did. However, I found this genie more endearing thanks to Smith's wholesome charisma. It felt more like a person cursed to entertain and to serve others. Okay, I think this is a good place for me to comment back. It is true that Will Smith made the genie his own. However, Will Smith's genie was nothing more than Will Smith for me. Like, he plays that character almost every single time currently now. Like, before I thought he was like really good, but now he's just kind of playing Will Smith, kind of like the same way that Johnny Depp was always playing Jack Sparrow. I think Will Smith is just playing Will Smith now. And, you can make the argument that Robin Williams did the same-ish thing, but even that I would disagree with, because Robin Williams actually had range. Like, when he's trying to be funny, like, you can tell that's his Robin Williams thing. But his characters were always, like, interesting and distinct from what I remember. Even the genie. I don't think Genie is in any way the same to his character in Good Will Hunting, I think they're completely different characters. I also don't think that Will Smith nailed this person cursed to entertain and serve others. And this is the reason why. I think the little moments in both Aladdin 1992 and 2019, those little moments have different impacts. In 1992, when the genie says, if what I could wish for is freedom, you hear that pain and longing and hopefulness in his voice, while also hearing that he knows that it will never happen. Like, there's so much acting talent in just that word freedom when Robin Williams says that word. Like, it relates so much to the audience. It's so heartfelt. And you actually believe that Genie and Aladdin are friends. You feel like the genie actually cares. When he's mad at Aladdin, you actually understand why he's mad. And even when Genie gets set free, it's one of the most heartfelt moments of that Disney cartoon. It's so emotional. And I think Robin Williams did everything right in his voice acting to capture the heart of the character. And that's where I disagree with Haiku Reviews, is because I don't think Will Smith had any heart in this portrayal of the genie. His portrayal of the genie in those little heartfelt moments, it felt soulless. It felt like he didn't care. It felt like he just said the lines just so that he could wrap up filming. Whereas Robin Williams, you could understand and feel what the genie was feeling emotionally. And I think Robin Williams nailed it. But as for Will Smith, it was just so soulless. Like, when he says that what I wish for is freedom, when Will Smith says it, I didn't feel bad for him at all. But when Robin Williams had that one line of freedom, the audience felt everything. With Will Smith, it's quite the opposite. I felt nothing in these little moments, and I should be able to feel everything in these little moments. There are historical references here I could dig into, but I'll refrain. In short, updating Genie by de-dating Genie worked for me and felt necessary. I understand this point in his review. In short, updating Genie by de-dating Genie worked for me. I understand it. I personally like the impersonating Robin Williams thing. I like it. I like what Robin did. But I also understand that, the impressions did kind of break the illusion of the time setting. I understand that. It's not a problem for me personally, but I understand. So I think he made a very compelling point here. Okay, so changing Jasmine. I think we're most likely gonna agree on this one. Changing Jasmine. Jasmine, on the whole, is the same. An independent woman who seeks to understand the common people of her kingdom, fighting against her past isolation and her predetermined future. She's whimsical and skeptical and daring and cunning. She's a great character. So why didn't she have any songs in the original? Okay, I think I know where we're headed. I think we're heading into Speechless territory. And I will continue reading because I have some very strong thoughts about that ridiculous song choice. The 2019 film gives her further agency and prominence with 2 songs of her own. They might sound out as blurring alterations to a revered, established soundtrack, but for me it breathes new air into an undeserved character. I'm pretty sure he's talking about Speechless, and I don't remember this other song. I think it's a Speechless reprise. I think that's the only songs I remember from Jasmine that were hers. But I think I need to comment on Speechless. Speechless does nothing to establish Jasmine as a character. I think it tries to. I think Speechless tries to establish Jasmine as a character, but here's what works against that song. Like every other song in Aladdin, both the original and the newer version, all those sounds sound like they were made in that time era and in that location. But you look at One Jump, that sounds like a Middle Eastern song, and it establishes the character of Aladdin in a situation, right? Yes, that's what it does. You look at Arabian Nights, and that song is like the opening to a Shakespeare play. It lays out what is going to happen, pretty much, more or less. And it sounds like it was made in the Middle East. But for Speechless now, Speechless doesn't sound like it was made in the Middle East. Speechless doesn't sound like it was made for that time era. What Speechless sounds like to me is a modernized 2010s American song. Like, honestly, like when I listen to it, the lyrics are so vague. It doesn't do anything to progress the story. And the way that it was used doesn't progress the story either. I mean, like, I understand that it's Jasmine, like, breaking out of her shell, I guess, and she's like, no, I'm not gonna be silent anymore. But it's not like she ever struggled with that, like, ever from the movie's establishment. Like, Jafar told her to be quiet, like, one time, and that was it. And then she, like, gets all mad. Like, I'm sorry, but one time is not enough establishment. I'm not saying that it needs to be, like, a pandering thing or whatever, but directors need to know how to establish urgency much, much better. And we've been doing it in the past, so why are we missing it now? I also think that the way they use the Speechless reprise is so ridiculous. Like when she's being taken away and then she's like, I won't be silent or whatever, and she turns around and the guards turn into dust. I was like, oh my god, where did they go? Where did she have this power all of a sudden? It looked like a really cheesy music video. Honestly, it looked like a musical made by like a friggin' liberal community or something. It looked really, really bad. I am sorry if you feel the opposite. But the way that that scene was shoehorned in there made no sense with the film. Honestly, what is the point of that reprise? Why couldn't Jasmine have just turned around and said to that one guard who had no established connection with her either, it's like, hey, like, stop this. And then he, like, stops. And then in the end, it doesn't even matter because he gets turned into dust or goes down to hell or something. I don't know. But even the execution for the speechless songs are so terrible. They don't do anything for the movie other than drag out the runtime. And when it tries to be dramatic and artsy, I suppose, it just comes across as ridiculous and stupid. I'm a little, yeah, I sound a little heated. But honestly, I'm mad at the movie's execution. And yeah, it's a movie. But honestly, like, why are we dumbing down audiences with this crap? It's just so insulting. In a side note, Nassim killed it as an elevated character of her handmaid who provides clear focus for Genie post-Genie. Okay, I kind of remember this woman. I disagree again. I think that this woman played into the reason why I didn't like the movie again. It's because she had forced comedy and she tried to make us laugh and it wasn't working. It was just like really trying hard. No effortlessness at all. Like, she's one of the reasons why I didn't like it. And like, there's a lot of people who did the forced comedy thing, but come on, let's be real. She did it too. So she's just as much as to blame. Conclusion. Okay. I could go on about other elements like the Bollywood-infused dancing and vibrant colors in Disney choreography to the sometimes jarring Guy Ritchie speed manipulation. Thank God you mentioned that because that was just ridiculous. That was awful. It looked like something I would do. And I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a freaking amateur. Like, what? Why is Guy Ritchie making mistakes that I would do? Like, dude, come on. You're getting paid for this crap. But these main 3 points are why a remake was necessary and why it worked for me. Updated cast with people of color, a genie devoid of modern pulp culture references, and an expanded Jasmine. I understand the point of view for sure. I just don't think that those 3 points were enough to save the movie for me. Like, take for instance the updated cast with people of color. Honestly, Aladdin, that main dude, he was pretty awful. Like, his acting was just so bad. Like, there's nothing in there in his performance that made me believe that he was the character. He just looked like an actor trying to act. Like, everything he did was so not genuine to me. Like, I think that the only reason why they hired him is because the bastard can dance. And he can dance. He's a good dancer in that scene. But does that make up for his acting? No. Does the fact that he's a person of color make up for his acting? Hell no. No, it does not. I'm judging the movie based off of talent. And in the acting category, there's only so few people that had talent. The only person that I think is the least bit effective is Jasmine. That one woman that played Jasmine, I thought she was the most decent out of everyone for sure. But that doesn't make one decent performance an excuse to praise the rest of them. Jafar was irritating as hell. Like, he had no idea what he was doing, or that actor was just tired. I hear he has great work in other films, but here he does not have good work. Aladdin sucks. Will Smith plays Will Smith. He's not even genuine in his heartfelt moments. He tries to be funny, and he's not funny. I am more than thrilled to see people of color actors. I am. But they need to be just as good as any other actor. You people are actors. Like, friggin' convince me, you know? You get the Jordan Peele films. He's finding good actors. Why can't Guy Ritchie? So I'm all for having people of color actors. I'm all for it. But the thing is, they need to be good actors. I'm not going to give them a pass just because they're a person of color. They need to be good. I'm judging them on talent. And if there's no talent present, I'm going to call it out on it. A genie devoid of modern pop culture references. This one I agree with. Well, I don't agree with. I more so understand it. So I'm not going to gripe too much about it because I actually understand the point of view on this one. I disagree with Will Smith having heart. I think he was soulless and unfunny. But I agree. I mean, like I said, I understand the void of modern pop culture things. I get it. I understand it. Do I agree with it? Not wholeheartedly, but I understand. And then Expanding Jasmine. Again, this one could have been something I agree with too, but the movie wastes a lot of opportunities with Jasmine, and at the same time, they don't even establish enough about Jasmine for us to believe this like breakthrough of character. So, like I said, execution was kind of bad. So I don't wholeheartedly agree. I agree somewhat. I agree with the potential that the movie could have had. But I'm not going to give the movie points for things that it did not do. I will not go as far to say as this is better than Aladdin 1992 because it is still mostly a scene-by-scene recreation of the animated original. Yes and no, but I feel like I've been talking too long about it. The work put into this is mostly in aesthetics and logistics than creative work. Well, I think that part we can agree with. It is hard to judge it in its own merits as it is a derivative work. But judged as a remake, I think it deserves praise for the choices they did make. I think I would have praised it too if the choices were executed better. Meanwhile, Beauty and the Beast 2017 can go fuck itself. Wow. I mean, okay, look, honestly, I'm not going to defend Beauty and the Beast 2017. Okay, I'll defend it a little bit. I think that they stayed true to the characters more than any of these Disney remakes by far. And that's the reason why I give Beauty and the Beast 2017 a 2-star out of 4-star. But even then, I'm not going to sit here and defend Beauty and the Beast 2017 because it's a 2-star out of a 4-star for me. Why would I defend this? Well, then again, I did defend Aladdin 1992, and that was a 2-star. So, yeah. So, Haiku Reviews gives Aladdin 2019 a 3.5 out of 5 stars, which show my kids this version. All right. I have to say I disagree with most of these points for sure, but that doesn't mean that I think that Haiku Reviews is a bad reviewer. That's not the case at all. Haiku Reviews actually had points that were thought out. Like, he had things he wanted to say that were actually backed up by evidence and points from the film. And for that reason, I really admire what Haiku Reviews does. Like, even though he and I disagree, and I think we disagree on most things, I still like the guy, and I still respect his opinion. Of course, I talk in the same way that I'm talking to, Brandon and Will, but that's just how I talk when I talk about movies. That's just me being passionate. So even though I sound aggressive, don't take it as that I was aggressive toward Haiku Reviews. And I hope Haiku Reviews doesn't take it that I was aggressive. Because honestly, this is just how I talk when I talk about movies, because I'm passionate about them. But I really do admire Haiku Reviews for sending me why he likes Aladdin 2019. And even though we disagree, man, I think you're great, and I think you care a lot, and I think that I think you can support your arguments with good evidence and points from the film. So I mean, yeah, I hope to read more from you, man. I really enjoyed the fact that you let me do this kind of a conversation with you. It's more like a respond, and feel free to respond to me too. I mean, like, I'm more than welcome to have people respond to me. In fact, that's the reason why I wanted to do the segment, is because I think this is important. I think disagreements are 100% healthy, and they can be discussed in a civil manner, even though I have to admit I might have sound like, maybe mad. But keep in mind, I'm not mad at Haiku Reviews. I'm mad at the movie. But I'm never mad at Haiku Reviews for having his own opinion. I think it's beautiful that he disagrees with me, So, thank you for taking the time, and I hope that maybe we can have more discussions later down the road, and maybe we'll actually, talk face to face. I mean, that'll be awesome for me, honestly. But anyway, I think it's time I wrap this up because, I think I have to talk about the main meat now. Oh, God, I have to talk about Lion King 2019. 2 bad movies in one recording. My God. Okay, so now we're going to go into Lion King 2019. Okay, I don't know how long I'm going to be talking about this because I don't think I have that much to say. but I'll do my best. Okay, so before I went to go see Lion King 2019, I actually watched the 1994 film like maybe 3 to 4 days prior. And I gotta say, after rewatching Lion King 1994, there is so many things about that film that I absolutely admire and I absolutely love. So one can actually argue that I might have went in with a little bit too high expectations, but keep in mind my mentality for going into a movie is that I expect maybe a 2 star out of 4 star film, because that way I'm right down the middle. I'm right in that half line, so I'm not disappointed, basically. Sometimes it doesn't work. But let's try to go right into it. So watching the film, I gotta admit, when they did Circle of Life, I actually thought to myself, oh my god, this is gonna be the best Disney remake yet. I think 2019 nails a lot right about the opening Circle of Life scene, because it really does look like an updated version of the 1994 film, and I thought it was good. I thought it was really great, and I like what they did with. Okay, well, when I say like, that's actually a strong word. I liked for a second. Well, I like some choices that they did, like when Scar reveals that he actually tried to fight Mufasa for the throne but failed. I thought that works because that actually adds like more of a history and a rivalry between the two. I actually like that a lot. And the photorealism is incredible. It really is. Like when I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, look at these effects. It's great. It's pretty. It's beautiful. This look at the hair. Look at the mane. Look at the lion. You know, just look at it. Look at it all. So pretty. So pretty. Prettiness does not make a movie good for me, and it never, ever will. Because what I care about in a film is writing, directing, acting, story, execution, and style. Okay, that's what I love in a film. And when I was watching it, it felt like all the choices that they made, it felt like all the creative liberties that they took with the Lion King 2019 remake were choices that did not benefit the characters at all. Like, you look at Simba, right? Simba came off more as an asshole, more than like a naive little spoiled Prince Brat. Well, Simba in the original 1994 film, he wasn't even a spoiled, like, rich brat. He wasn't a brat, really. He was just naive, and he thought he could take on the entire world, you know, because he's going to be king. So he was just naive. But in 2019, they kind of make him a jerk. Like, when he's talking to Uncle Scar, like, he kind of, like, just bosses him around in a way. I mean, like, it's small, but really, he bosses Scar around. And it's like, oh my gosh, Simba's a dick. And, you know, some could argue that it's more for his character development. But even throughout the course of the film, like, I didn't believe anything that Simba was going through. And primarily, this is the reason. It's because the voice acting was really bad. The voice acting did not convince me at all. And, like, you compare the voice acting work from 1994 young Simba to 2019 young Simba, it's like day and night. That voice actor for 1994 actually did so much with his voice that had a lot of emotion. And when you go into the 2019 one, like, whoever that voice actor is, it sounds like he's trying to act, and it is the most hilarious thing. What makes it even more funny is that Simba 2019 doesn't have any facial expressions whatsoever, so it makes the scene even look more ridiculous, and it even puts the bad voice acting even more so in the forefront of the audience's minds. It's like so ridiculous, and that's one of the reasons why I think this movie failed, is because this movie, the Lion King premise, or Kimba for some of you, this story belongs in a hand-drawn animation. When you try to make this like a documentary, like a Planet Earth thing, it doesn't work. You know why? Because there's no expressions on these lions' face. We don't know what they're feeling. And this is exactly what I pointed out when the trailer first got released. I was scared that this entire film was going to be expressionless, and I was right. I was so right that it hurt. And I was desperately wanting to be proven wrong. I didn't want this to be expressionless. I wanted this to be like, I wanted this to relate the emotions in a different way, but it just wasn't ever sticking the landing. Because every time I look at these lions' face, I have absolutely no idea what they are feeling. And this goes into my argument I made earlier with Aladdin 2019. What is filmmaking? Visual storytelling, right? So like with no dialogue at all, and I just see these lions, like I don't feel anything because I'm just watching a bunch of like realistic lions just doing shenanigans. That's it. The whole point of animation is that it's expressive and filled with color and style, and Lion King 1994 had that, and 2019 tries to replicate some of it, but it never ever succeeds. You take the opening, not the opening, Circle of Life was actually pretty damn good. But when you go into the first song, which is I Want to Be King, like I was shocked at how bored I got throughout the song. Like once the music started to hit, I was already like in my chair, getting comfortable and wanting to take a nap and wanting to wake up when the song was over. Because everything in that number was so expressionless, so colorless, and so lifeless. I mean, like you see like a cute little baby hippo and little baby animals here and there, and the audience goes, "Oh, it's so cute." I admit I did that too, but me going, "Oh, it's so cute," doesn't like give the movie a pass. I'm still noticing all the dullness in the air. You know, compared to 1994, you can get away with that number because you're allowed to add color. You're allowed to add expression. You're allowed to add this over-the-top choreography because it's an animated film. But when you have a photorealism film, you're robbed of so much of the creativity that the original had, and you're also robbed of creativity that you yourself might have and want to put in the film, but you know it's not going to work. There are some things that work in film and some things that do not. And photorealism is one of those things that does not work in a Disney animated film. Like all the execution was bland and tasteless and boring to look at. In fact, all the musical numbers were boring to look at. You look at Be Prepared and you see Scar climbing up those mountains. It's so devoid of personality. You're just seeing this grown lion walking up rocks. It's not interesting or visually pleasing at all. It's just boring. Like, why would I want to watch this? And it goes on for a lot of these numbers. It goes on for even goes on for Hakuna Matata. Like the first verse of Hakuna Matata takes place in a desert, in a bland-looking desert. And I'm like, where's the color? Where's the visual flair? Where's the visual storytelling? I was questioning all these decisions because, like I said before, photorealism does not work in this kind of film. You need an animation. You need animators to make this premise work. And this is where the movie failed. Would I say that the photorealism basically ruined the movie? My answer is kind of yeah, because this is the reason why. It robs the movie of personality entirely, and that's what held the movie back so much for me. But enough about that. Let's go into more things besides the photorealism, right? Timon and Pumbaa. Everyone loves Timon and Pumbaa. Well, yeah, I do too. I love the cartoons, but I don't like Seth Rogen and the guy from Parks and Rec doing the voices. I think Seth Rogen could have been a good Pumbaa for sure, but let's face it, it was either Jon Favreau or the Disney executives. They're like, no, just improvised comedy. It'll be fine. People will laugh because we love improvised comedy. No, goddamn. Why do people think improvised comedy is always the best thing in the world? Improvised comedy is good when it has a purpose and a point and it's filled with wit. When you just repeat things for the sake of improvised comedy, it's not funny. Why can't people get this through their thick skulls? And what's worse, it sounded like improvised comedy. It sounded like they were just trying to drag out the joke further because they think they're being hilarious. That's not the case. Improvised comedy comes from like the genuineness of it, the genuine comedy from it. And there are so many things that are said that are so unnecessary and I guess self-aware. But the thing is, the self-awareness doesn't work in this film because they're actually banking on nostalgia. Like Timon and Pumbaa, they say something along the lines of, Hakuna Matata. Huh, you're not laughing or standing up and clapping? Usually a lot of people stand up and clap when we say Hakuna Matata. They're banking on the nostalgia and love for the song. Why are you doing that? Why are they doing that? Does it benefit the story? Does it benefit the style? Does it benefit the characters? All of those questions are answered with the letters N-O. It does not work. So why are you adding in that joke if it doesn't benefit anything? Are you trying to get the audience to laugh? Is that your only objective? If that's the case, then you are basically slowing down the movie just to tell a joke, and you're stopping the progression of story. Why do filmmakers think this is a necessity? The film should always progress the story forward. Like, why do I know this and Hollywood executives do not? I'm a nobody from the state of Hawaii, okay? Why do I know this? Speaking of voice acting, the voice acting for Timon and Pumbaa are also obnoxious. Like, compared to, like, the cartoons, right? They were, like, sure, they, like, had moments of, like, yelling and panic or whatever, but it was always, like, subtle and, like careful and kind of planned out in a way. But this one, they're just yelling to yell because they think it's funny for some reason. I don't know why yelling became funny all of a sudden. It's not. It's like kind of annoying. Like, you need to yell if you have purpose for sure, but the way that Timon and Pumbaa just yell, I'm like, can you just be quiet? Also, another voice actor that I was like disappointed with is James Earl Jones. I'm sorry, but James Earl Jones did his best work as Mufasa in 1994. He cared a lot about that character. But when he returned for 2019, honestly, it sounds like the dude needed a paycheck, because every single word that came out of his mouth is, like, not convincing at all. But I don't blame James Earl Jones. I think he was just tired. And he's an older guy too, right? So, I mean, like, he already voiced this character. So he's probably thinking to himself, oh my God, I have to come back and do this character again when, like, I did it already? What's the point in this? So I don't think James Earl Jones is to blame, really. I don't think. Because, like, he's done incredible works on stage, man. And he's done incredible works as a voice actor, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I still think that his portrayal in 2019 was just, like, borderline lazy. It just sounded like a lazy voice acting gig for him. Like, there's nothing more to it than that. He was just lazy. Donald Glover and Beyonce are, like, they're like whatever in the film. Honestly, like, when I listened to them in the movie, I thought to myself, they could have picked anyone on God's green earth to play these characters, because they're doing just a standard emotionless job that anyone from the actor in the community theater could have been picked, and he would have done just as good a job as Donald Glover and Beyonce, or she would have done just as good, whatever, you know what I mean. But my point is, Donald Glover and Beyonce, they don't convince me as the characters of Simba and Nala. And once again, yes, I am comparing to the original, but it's because the original did so many things right down to the voice acting. You look at Matthew Broderick and Moira Kelly. Like, when they argue, you believe that they're actually arguing. Like, they put so much work into their voice acting that it sounds incredible. But when Donald Glover and Beyonce are arguing, I don't believe anything that they're saying. I just feel like they're trying to voice act, but it's not working. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Donald Glover is maybe he's just not a good voice actor, because he's good in that show Community, right? And Beyonce, I mean, like, she's a singer, but maybe that doesn't translate to one being a good voice actor. I don't know if she's voice acted before. I really don't know. But look, my point still stands that Donald Glover and Beyonce, they did nothing special with Simba or Nala. It was kind of, like, disappointing, because I was actually really pumped to hear what they do with the characters. I think the best actor maybe was I'm going to butcher his name, Chiwetel Ejiofor. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a dick, but I really can't pronounce his name. But that dude, I think he was the best one in that voice ensemble cast. Like, he made Scar his own, even though Scar didn't have that many layers to him. But I think he did the best job. But yeah, he did the best job for sure, definitely. But the film, okay, so even the film like drags itself out by, like, this is a weird complaint, but it's a complaint that I feel strongly about. The film somehow rushes past these little moments, but then drags out other moments that don't feel necessary. Like, when Simba and Nala meet again after, they find each other, or she finds him, I should say. Like, that scene feels so rushed, and I don't feel any connection or I don't have any believability that they are glad to see each other. It's because they just rush past it. And even when they do Can You Feel the Love Tonight, I feel like they just rush right past that romance. I found myself thinking to myself, wow, this romance between Simba and Nala actually came out of nowhere. Where did this come from? And do you know why I felt that way? It's because they rushed through it. And they rushed through a lot of these things, man. They rushed through a lot of the moments that gave Lion King the original a really good pace. And they add scenes that don't make any sense to the story, or they drag out scenes that don't make any sense to the story. Let's take, for instance, the mouse scene in 94 when Scar catches the little mouse. Like, that scene, like, when he catches the mouse, that takes, like, all of 5 seconds, maybe? And then Scar delivers his little monologue about life's not fair, and we understand who Scar is because of that. But in the 2019 one, like, we're on that mouse for, like, 5 minutes. And it's like, why are we here for 5 minutes? It's a petty thing to argue, to, like, discuss or find a gripe with. But, like, trust me, there are a lot of things like that drag the movie down, where we're focusing on all the wrong things. We're not focusing on characters. We're focusing on, like, things that don't even matter to the story. And that's what made the movie even worse for me. There's also this, like, head hyena that, like, has, like, I guess a grudge against Nala, and Nala has a grudge against the hyena. Like, where did this come from? Like, sure, they were, like, the head hyena was about to eat baby Simba and baby Nala, like, at the elephant graveyard, for sure. But I didn't think it called for, like, this grudge match between Nala and the head hyena. I looked at that and they, like, exchanged dialogue, something like, oh, I remember you. I'm gonna enjoy this. And Nala's like, oh, yeah, I've been waiting for this for a long time. And I'm like, what? Why? Why is there a rivalry here? What established this? What made this rivalry so damn important to the film? It did nothing to establish this rivalry other than the fact that she wanted to eat the little baby lions, but that's about it. I mean, then in that case, then Nala should have a grudge against every single hyena. But anyway, I think I'm talking too much about it. Honestly, this movie has no soul. And you've heard this from every single reviewer that reviewed this on YouTube. But the movie really does have no soul, has no spirit, has no personality. It's just a big fat nothing that looks pretty. That's what it is. It's a turd that's wrapped up in a nice little bow. That's what it is. Honestly. I mean, like, it looks nice, but a turd is still a turd. I think I wrapped up everything I wanted to talk about Lion King. If I'm missing something, then, I mean, whatever. I think I made all my points. But yeah, Lion King 2019 for me, oh God, what a shame. It was going pretty well in Circle of Life, and I was actually excited. But then the movie continued to run, and I was just over it. I give Lion King 2019 a 1 star out of 4 star. Oh, and I also give Aladdin 2019 a nothing. It deserves no stars at all. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I enjoyed doing a solo episode. I actually can't wait to have Will and Brandon with me because they make the conversations fun. It's kind of boring talking to myself. But yeah, maybe next episode we'll do something. I'm kind of tired of talking about bad movies, honestly. I want to do a recommend episode, but I got to talk to Will and Brandon about it because, you know, we're a team and we make decisions together. But yeah, I would much rather like to talk about a good movie because I've been shitting on movies lately and it's I need to watch a good something. Okay, I just need to. Anyway, yeah, until next time, guys. Okay, bye.